Traditional Chinese medicine has long been considered a desirable alternative to Western pharmaceuticals. However, it is not without its risks for the unwary consumer. Hi, I'm Tracy Poir, one of the qualified practitioners of traditional Chinese medicine at Balance Medical Supplies, and today I'd like to talk to you about some of the safety and quality issues surrounding the use of herbal patents and powders. At Balance Medical Supplies, we've done extensive research and we're proud to stock Shengfeng powders from Taiwan, which we believe to be superior in terms of quality and safety.
The first point of concern for many consumers of herbal medicines is the possibility of contamination by heavy metals. Heavy metals can occur naturally in the environment, but in modern times they have also been introduced into the ecosystem by pollution. Many of the elements that are considered heavy metals have no known benefit for human bodies. Lead, mercury and cadmium are prime examples of such toxic metals. However, other metals are essential to human functioning. For example, zinc is an important element for physical health. Vitamin B12 has a cobalt atom at its core, and hemoglobin contains iron. Likewise, copper, manganese, selenium, chromium, etc. These are all trace elements which are important in the human diet. Despite this, any of these elements may have negative effects if taken in quantity or if the usual mechanisms of elimination are weak, for example in a patient with reduced kidney function. Consumers also run the risk of ingesting pesticide residue present in substandard Chinese herbal preparations. As well as affecting the nervous, endocrine, reproductive and immune systems, pesticides can also contribute to abnormal development and may even lead to cancer. In addition to heavy metal poisoning and ingesting dangerous pesticides, pharmacological contamination is a major concern. It can lead to serious health problems for consumers. Some inferior Chinese medicines have been found to contain Western pharmaceuticals in wildly varying doses. In one instance, a Chinese erectile dysfunction remedy was found to be straight Viagra. The risk to consumers from these products is obvious. The patients risk reactions with other medicines they may be on. There's no way of determining if a dose is safe, and of course, if you wanted Western drugs to fix a problem, you'd probably have got them from your Western doctor in the first place. It's not just the external contamination of Chinese herbal medicines that has provoked concern in the past. The most widely publicised kidney toxicity caused by Chinese medicinal herbs is Aristolochic acid nephropathy, caused by aristolochic acid, which is naturally occurring in some plant species. The herb Stephania tetandra, hanfangji, which is safe to use, is practically identical to Aristolochia fangji, guangfangji, which contains aristolochic acid and is not safe to use. They must be tested chemically and examined microscopically to ensure that the correct species is used and that aristolochic acid is absent. A similar situation exists with guanmultong, which in the past was used as a substitute for multong, but which has also been discovered to contain aristolochic acid and is no longer acceptable to use. Since this discovery, most multong available is chuanmultong, which does not contain aristolochic acid. The stems and leaves of the shixin plant have also been tested and found to contain aristolochic acid, so Taiwanese manufacturers now only use the root, which is free from aristolochic acid, when they make granules. Also of concern to consumers of Chinese herbal products is the possibility of plasticizer contamination. A plasticizer is an industrial compound that affects the physical properties of a substance to which it is added, making it more plastic. They're generally considered unsafe in food. However, many countries allow various kinds of plasticizers to be added to drugs because the frequency and amount consumed is far less than for food. They can help with the duration, colour and texture of drugs and are widely used in sustained release drugs and drugs that come in powder form and in film-coated tablets. Some plasticizers, for example DEHP, are considered cancer-causing, and others, such as DIDP, have been linked to liver damage after long-term consumption. Last year, GlaxoSmithKline was forced to recall Augmentin syrup in China after traces of DIDP were found. DIDP had leached into the syrup from the seal in the cap. The same situation was found in Taiwan as well, causing widespread concern. In the midst of this scare last year, it was found that several Shengfeng products also contained minute traces of plasticizers. All were within safe limits for food consumption, and there are no upper limits for medicines as yet. However, the company acted quickly to find the source and eliminate it. Upon investigation, it was found that the plasticizers had leached from plastic containers used during the manufacturing process. Shengfeng now only uses stainless steel or glass instruments during manufacture to avoid this happening again. They also now test for plasticizers, something that most herbal companies don't do because they don't have to by law. Shengfeng has demonstrated total commitment to the safety of their customers, and that is why we are happy to distribute their products. Improperly manufactured and stored herbal medicines are at risk of microbial contamination, which is also a threat to the health of the consumer. Most Chinese herbal medicines are abundant in starches, lipids, and proteins, which are nutrients for microbial growth. If there is no heat treatment in the manufacturing process, it's easy for organisms to grow. Also, if they're not stored correctly, many traditional Chinese herbs will generate aflatoxin, which is toxic to the liver. By now you may be asking yourself, how can I be sure I've chosen a good Chinese herbal medicine? Most manufacturers of Chinese medicine concentrates grind crude herbs directly into powder and then mix in starch to add 20% or more to product weight. This leaves high levels of pesticide and heavy metal residues and exposes the product to significant microbial contamination risks. This leads to potential moulding and the production of aflatoxins and other dangerous toxic byproducts. When choosing a quality herbal product, look for one that does not contain any crude herb powder and is quality tested in an ISO 17025 certified laboratory.
There are a few easy ways that you can test your product to see if it contains crude herb powder, and in a moment I'm going to show you some of these. If you do these tests and your product does contain crude herb powder, then if I were you, I wouldn't bother asking any more questions about quality. I would simply start looking for a better quality product. However, if it does test clean for crude herb powder, then you'll still need to follow up with the producer and check whether they are stringently testing them in an ISO 17025 laboratory. The reason for this is that testing for crude herb powder can only give us indications about the likelihood of heavy metal contamination, microbial contamination and pesticides, things like that. It can't tell us anything at all about pharmaceutical contamination, and it can't tell us about Aristolochic acid, etc., etc. So it's just the first step in your search.
One way to tell if your product contains crude herb powder is to do a burns test. Here on the left we have some crude herb powder, and on the right you have some Shengfeng herbal powder which doesn't contain crude herb powder. So we just hold a lighter there for about 10 seconds or so, and when you take it away you see that anything that contains crude herb powder will continue to smoke like it's incense. And on the right here, the Shengfeng herbal powder, hold it there for 10 seconds as well, and when you take the lighter away you'll see it doesn't smoke. Another way to tell if your product contains crude herb powder is by simply sprinkling a small amount of it into a glass of water. The product on the left is herb powder from another company, and the product on the right is going to be the same product but from Shengfeng. And you can already see the product on the left has quite a bit of crude herb powder still floating on the top. But watch as we put it in the Shengfeng herb powder. It just dissolves. There's nothing left floating there on the top. And after a good stir up, you can see that the Shengfeng product has dissolved nicely into the water, but the product on the left has tended to sink right down to the bottom. And as we lift the glass up and look underneath, you'll be able to see tiny granules of crude herb powder when it comes into focus. There you are. But let's lift up the Shengfeng product, and nope, you can't see any granules at all. So that shows that it's free of crude herb powder. Balance Medical Supplies has done the research for you, and we've found an outstanding product that you can use with total confidence. Shengfeng is currently the only government-certified large-scale producer of crude herb powder-free Chinese medicine concentrates in Taiwan. Shengfeng products meet or exceed most national health and safety standards and are currently sold across Europe, the United States, Canada, Japan, Hong Kong, Southeast Asia, and Australia. Shengfeng has not only passed GMP, Good Manufacturing Practices, and ISO 9001-2000, but it runs an ISO 17025 certified laboratory and subjects all products to strict quality inspections before being released to market. All Shengfeng products are free of crude herb powder, as shown by both burns tests and examinations under a microscope. The top 4 pictures on this page are products from a different manufacturer which do include crude herb powder, and the 4 products on the bottom are from Shengfeng, and you can see a clear difference here. The rectangle on the left is showing the presence of crude herb powder. You can actually see the little granules there, and the circle on the right is microbial contamination, and if you take a look at the ones down the bottom, you see that they're nice and clean. All batches are rigorously tested. Shengfeng does microbial tests. They test for heavy metals, toxins of mold, pesticides, Aristolochic acid. They test for pharmacological contamination, steroids, analgesics, things like that, and also a whole bunch of other general tests. Shengfeng products must at a minimum pass all of these pesticide, herbicide, residues tests. And as discussed earlier, Shengfeng are possibly the only herbal company to test for plasticizers, going above and beyond what is expected to ensure the safety and efficacy of their products. Shengfeng uses thin layer chromatography identification to ensure that what is meant to be in the product is in the product and nothing else. Recently, it's been reported that some Chinese medicines in Australia were tested and found to have inadequate or misleading labeling. Some contained protected animal species, including the Asiatic black bear and the Saiga antelope, but it wasn't listed on the label. A number of these products are also available in New Zealand. Balance Medical Supplies does not import any products containing animals or plants that are listed as trade restricted according to the Convention on International Trade in Endangered Species legislation. Due to Shengfeng's rigorous quality control testing, we can be absolutely certain that the only ingredients in our preparations are those that are listed on the label. First, the raw product is examined under a light microscope to ensure that it's the right material, and then the final preparation is examined using thin layer chromatography identification. Only once this testing is done are the medicines released, giving consumers total confidence in the integrity of the product. Now that you have the information you need to stay safe, why not ask your Chinese medical professional to supply Shengfeng herbs? We believe that they're second to none, and we're sure your doctor will too. Please ask your practitioner to phone us on 0800 133 555 or to check us out on our website www.balancemedicalsupplies.co.nz for more information.